but like honestly, just play Gallant. Just play Gallant. Oh well, hey, if a Megidramon tops, then I'll have egg on my face, right? Hey, what's up guys, Dmvdrakes here. I know we were 100% wrong about Megidramon. I want to personally apologize for that. Also, I want to apologize for leaving Blue Flare out on the last tier list. It's just so many decks to talk about. Like, you can't talk about them all, you know, and it's just not enough time in the day. And it's not enough time in the day, and nobody wants to be here for 4 hours going through every single deck in Digimon, you know. We don't really need to place green Hybird on the list, do we, you know? So how about this instead? Typically we do about 35 to 36 decks on the list. I will leave a few spots that will be community spots. Basically, if you want to see a specific deck be talked about on the next tier list, let me know in the comments below. The next tier list going up is the EX10 tier list. So when that tier list goes up, there will be 4 additional decks that will be on that list that people comment in the comments below. So like a guy mentioned Eosmon on the last list. If you want to see Eosmon, comment Eosmon in the comments below. Get some of those upvotes or whatever they're called. Get some thumbs up on that comment, and boom, I'll add it. There we go. Everybody's happy. Only 4 though. Only 4. 4 is already a lot, but I'm willing to do 4. That's just to make the list go by faster. That's why we decrease so many numbers, because we were noticing over time that it'll be like 50 entries on the list, and it was going into like the 2-hour mark, and we're just like, that's too much. Not everything needs to be talked about in depth. So I would like to also mention that a lot of the stats may have changed since the last time we did the tier list, and that's just because we got more testing and the meta has shifted. So when the meta shifts, some decks will be a lot better while other decks get a little worse. Alright, and without further ado, we are going to start the list. Abbadomon is one of the coolest decks I've seen in a while. The boss monster Abbadomon core is a super solid mid and late game Digimon. It better be, it has like 5 keywords on the card. It's an interesting mix of a cross Machinedramon deck with a bit of 7 great demon lords thrown in. This deck also takes a great pilot to make work efficiently. There are some micro decisions that can cost you the game, especially in like other control matchups or the mirror match. This deck has a pretty high skill ceiling. I think more methodical players will be rewarded for playing this deck. It really benefits on reading the opponent and playing the long game. I could talk about this deck for hours and the little minute intricacies throughout, or even how you can use like Negamon's reduction ability and Eismon's assembly at the same time, reducing Eismon to an incredibly cheap or even at times free 11k rush Digimon with collision and a redirect. And also if you have the black tie out, it can get to like 13k and you get the draw because the collision will trigger. Insane. I think really for the most part the deck kind of just loses to itself. Like, you can misplay pretty easily with the deck, and if you shotgun your core's breeding effect a little too early, you can potentially lose that and risk having to start over with your Negamons all over again, which honestly sucks. So taking all that into consideration, Abbadomon is a competitive deck. Adventure is a great deck for new players. It teaches you the fundamental ways of how Digimon functions as a game, while rewarding you for more complex sequences once you get the feel for how the deck operates. It has great removal effects like Leviamon, Dinomon, and MelatGarurumon Ace. It also has fantastic protections from the Wargreymon Ace as well. And if you want to get cheeky, you can even play the BT-22 Omni Ace or the Omni Ultra S. This deck has too many combos. We already spent enough time on Abbadomon already, so I'll just mention one interesting thing you can do if you're a new player and you're looking for like a way to kind of wrap your head around the deck. You have to have two tamers out, preferably a Matte and TK and a BT-22 Tai Kamiya. It doesn't really matter which tamers you have, they just have to have 3 different colors on your board at least. Have a Gabumon or Agumon from their starter deck in your raising area. During your breeding phase, raise out the Agu or Gabu. Then you want to hard play either the Birdramon or the Togemon. They both do the same thing. Digivolve the Togemon or the Birdramon into Anjawomon for free. Then you can use Anjawomon's effect to digivolve your Agu or Gabu into Wargrey or MelatGarurumon. Since their effects are blanket effects that become active when you fulfill the 3-color tamer condition, you can warp into a MetalGreymon or Wargreymon ace for free using Anjawomon's effect. Then from there you can use Melga's effect to bot deck a level 5 or 6 Digimon your opponent has, or go on a Wargreymon ace and delete an opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP and gain protection until the end of the opponent's turn. And all these factors plus more will make Adventure a highly competitive deck. Angels is a fantastic deck. It's not really seeing a lot of representation right now, but that doesn't mean it's bad, just not as popular as it once was. D-Digivolve and DP- were Angels' biggest ops. The popular play now is to tuck an EX6 Dinomon with a BT-14 Abbadomon effect, then hard play a BT-16 Magnamon and Digivolve that into Dinomon for free, skipping the need to Digivolve into a level 5, as well as making your newly evolved Abbadomon, if you didn't whiff the security Digivolve effect, into a potential ace target. If you can't get your security to work with you soon enough, this deck could really fall behind though. Also, another big reason Angels aren't seeing as much play right now is because it's very expensive. Cherubimon is like $40, Gato is $20, Domini is $20, and you need all these cards in multiple copies. Why spend the money on that when you can just play like Adventure for half the price and do just as well, if not better? There are some benefits that Angel have, like Domini's protection is still the best protection in the game we have seen so far. And now that I think about it, Angels has some of the best aces in the game as well. Anjawomon ace is fantastic, being able to replace your security when it gets removed from, and also negging something 6k. As well as Valk ace, which is basically like a diet ruin mode. Cherubimon also spamming the board out for more potential ace targets too is fantastic, as well as swinging with Alliance. And you have access to just ruin mode to lock the opponent out of Digimon flooding for 2 turns at least. And you can fit in techs like Death X and Digimon Emperor. Angels is still a strong mid-range deck. Just bumping it down to competitive, that's all. It has a lot of great tools, but it's a bit easy to telegraph. You know, I slept on apps a lot. Apps are fun. I will say that. Apps are fun. Now, App Hero is insane. Like, who would have thought the best way to use these decks were to mix them together? And this taught me a very valuable lesson that playing a deck that you don't like or discounted gives you perspective on it. And the perspective I got was invaluable for this tier list. It's a pretty bricky deck, don't get me wrong. You can easily see nothing but Tamers or level 5 or higher Digimon. But man, is the payoff worth it when it all works together. Hitting multiple checks with Glowmon in superior mode and then unsuspending with Gaiamon just feels so good. The deck gets a buff from Fire Rocket as well, making Superiormon like 14k piercing raid behemoth. Another downside though is that it can easily run out of steam if you don't get going with your rookies and champions quickly enough. But if you see a good line and have the proper tamer setup, this deck could really pop off. Sequencing with this deck isn't that difficult either. Most of the work comes from the Tiguru, allowing cheaper evos and stronger inherited effects underneath your Digimon. Also the secret tie from BT-21, allowing you to double draw when you have the Gammamon egg underneath your stack as well. Fantastic for consistency. This deck is quite competitive. Not highly competitive, but it's very competitive. Blue Flare is a legit deck, and I can't stress that enough. Also, I want to mention again, I am very sorry for leaving it out. I said that earlier, but some people just like to skip to the parts of the list they want to see, and if they want to see the Blue Flare part, they didn't like hear my little spiel in the beginning of it, which is fine. I'm not going to sit up here and be mad that people skip the video when I do that myself on other YouTube videos. Like, I don't want to be a hypocrite. But anyway, Blue Flare might actually do some decent numbers this format, because a lot of decks are going wide, which Blue Flare loves. And most decks now have very weak security since almost everyone just plays like search options and tamers. That's sadly where the positives end, because unless I'm not mistaken, the decks that Blue Flare loves to be paired against have either redirects, protection, or the soft stun doesn't really help much against decks as well. Like, to give an example, Superior Mode can attack without suspending, and also it's very rare that App Hero would have like multiple Digimon out. It's also more reliant on pieces than most other decks. If you're missing the Metal Gray, even though you have like 12 of them, which is very possible, I've seen people do it. If you're missing like the Metal Gray or the Male Birdramon, for instance, you could really fall behind in a later game. And it just kind of becomes like Rookie Rush at that point, which isn't very good because you don't run that many Gaussmons in the deck. Also, because aces are in the game, which Blue Flare struggles with, aces are really good, honestly, especially if the ace that the opponent has, or the Digimon that is about to be ace on the opponent's field, for whatever reason can't be de-digivolved. It can really have a hard time getting around that. And since so many things can redirect now or like absorb the hit, like Dinos for instance doesn't really care if it gets stunned, because like if it's suspended, which it should be if they're a good Dinos player, if it's suspended, like it'll just get eaten by Blue Flare. Also, Blue Flare has to play through like things like Medieval Gallantmon and Floodgates, so those are running pretty rampant now. Not so much Medieval Gallantmon, but Floodgates are definitely on the rise. I would consider the deck playable. Floodgates and Medi actually hurt the deck a lot, as well as Ace. Blue Hybrid is basically becoming the new Rookie Rush when you think about it. Your goal is to just use your Ukos and Muchos to chip away while playing hybrids for the big push for late game. It's a very tempo heavy deck, and because Blue Hybrid, especially the red base, gives up a lot of its consistency for Floodgates and options like Heaven's Judgment or Crimson Blaze, it can kind of peter out towards the late game very hard. But since Blue Hybrid is so fast, it doesn't really care about defensive decks like Machinedramon and Abbadomon. The worst, it can run into like Omni with Decode, but that's nothing like a play cost reduction Floodgate or a Crimson Blaze can't handle, you know? Really the biggest problem with Blue Flare is that it has the other like built to ass decks to contend with. Megi can clear like Floodgates easily, Sakuyamon can pop off with like one memory, and cards like Ruin Mode and Valdararm are great against it because it kind of shuts down a BT-17 Robo and Rookie Raises. But still, the deck is competitive. Like, Blue Hybrid is going to be very meta dependent, and since we're going into a wide meta, Floodgates and cards like Death X and Crimson Blaze are super good right now, as well as Digimon Emperor. Well, this is the new meme deck of the format, but it does have a few tools that can get a bit out of hand. The main gameplay is to establish Jimmy Ken and Digivolve into a Meramon of some sort, then do a bunch of main effects. The main issue with the deck is that the Candlemons and the Meramons until NSO, Nightmare Soldiers, couldn't Digivolve on top of each other. Like if you had red Candlemons, they couldn't Digivolve into purple Meramons, or if you had purple Candlemons, they couldn't Digivolve into red Meramons. So the deck has a black box text problem, definitely, because now you have to basically pick one egg or the other. If there was a Candlemon, or if they made Candlemons that says Digivolve for 0 on Demi Mera a little earlier in the game's life, this deck might actually be a little bit better. And with the rise of like Tamer Hate decks coming up in the next format with Black War Gray, this deck is definitely going to be just keep it at locals. It's fun. It kind of reminds me of BT-11 Abbadomon when that came out, before we had all the super rare Metal Abbadomon and EX4 and everything. Kind of reminds me of that. It's just a fun deck you can play out of your bulk. Very easy on the wallet. It's cool. I like Meramon and all that. I like Candlemon, man. Candlemon's an OG too, so like the deck is cool, but keep it at locals. CS is going to be busted someday. The deck is great. It doesn't have any protection for its stacks outside of Yuko. Let me see. Since Yuko is on a redirection and before blocker timing, unless you're playing like Gallantmon or has some kind of Toolbox in the stack, that redirection protection won't come up that often. And also the deck is prone to getting like aced if Alphamon doesn't remove the issue entirely. Which it should. I mean, on Digivolve and on Swing is minusing something 10k, so like that in theory should be enough. You would hope, right? It does have good recursion with the Kyoto, allowing you to keep pivotal pieces in rotation without the need for additional searching. CS has a lot of search as well. The Gammamon, the Yugo, and also the Kurumi Detective Agency is fantastic search pieces. And the Yugo as well can also allow you to cheat out more Tamers or Digimon. Also Mirai, how can I forget the Mirai? The Mirai allows you to like trash a CS that you could potentially get later with Kyoto. And also, start of main, you can bot deck the Mirai and then play a higher level CS Tamer or Mirai. It's really good, honestly. Side conversation, I'm really liking what they're doing with the Tamers, allowing you to bot deck one to play a play cost higher version of that Tamer. That's really nice. But that's a conversation for Maste. So you don't really need to rely on as many booster trainings. Since those spots get filled up by the Tamer and the new Kurumi Detective Agency, this deck is solid. It's just competitive for now, but it's on the cusp of highly competitive. One of the meta's gatekeepers for sure. Okay, I'm gonna get a little personal here. This is Darkknightmon. Now, I've been playing Darkknightmon since its inception in like, I want to say BT7. I kind of played it off and on in BT7, really got into it in BT10. I want to say Darkknightmon is one of those decks that is 100% dependent on how the meta shapes up. It had a little bit of resurgence in BT14 because Darkknightmon Digivolve is really good. And also, during that format, the aces were about play cost 4 or lower. So when you would use the Darkknightmon, you can de-Digivolve the mega level Digimon back to an ultimate, pop the ultimate, and like pass the turn back over to your side because of the overflow mechanic. De-Digivolve by itself is just being such a strong mechanic that it could make Darkknightmon see play, you know, because to do Darkknightmon stuff, you really just need Deadly Axe in like Skull just to get it going. Also, I want to say that I've been testing it with the Lord Knightmon stuff, and I feel like right now, as the meta is shaping up, Darkknightmon X is way better than the Lord Knightmon stuff. And I'm saying that because Tamers are so good right now, debatably too good in the format currently, and gonna get better as time goes on, especially if they keep printing ways to cheat out Tamers easily, like how they've been doing with that Mirai and also the Liberator Tamers. So like spamming the board is good right now. It's really good right now. But I think popping Tamers will be better. Like, would you rather spam the board of a bunch of like play costs 4 or lower dudes with like Lord Knightmon Ace and the new Lord Knightmon and Lord Knightmon X, which can't even really target anything because nothing is out usually when you're playing against something like Omni, who does all their stuff as soon as they raise out and very rarely leaves an Omnimon on board? Or would you prefer to go into Darkknightmon X and just pop the Nokia that they have? So I would say that Darkknightmon as it is right now is playable. It's good but playable. I prefer the Darkknightmon X antibody build. Lord Knightmon build is good, but like I said previously, deleting Tamers right now especially is going to be way better than deleting or like spamming the board full of Digimon. Especially since a lot of Floodgates and Crimson Blaze and decks that Darkknightmon struggles against, like Omni for instance, can just clap them. I have never lost to Decode Fish on the sim, to my knowledge. I might have, not in recent memory. It spans out bodies like Bloom and Green Ranger, but other than that, it doesn't really have a lot of utility in my opinion right now. I heard of a base, or I heard of a way that you can OTK the opponent with it, so please tell me in the comments below how you can OTK with Decode Fish, because I haven't seen it personally, and I would like to see it, or link to us on Twitter. Decode is fine, it's Fish, you know, it's Fish. Like, there are always going to be Decode fans, and there's always going to be Fish fans. I think, honestly, the deck is good. It just, since it spams out bodies, and Floodgates stop bodies, like, you can't play Digimon by effects, stop those effects, honestly, and even just, like, the memory restricted Floodgates also stop the end of attack gain a memory thing. It can kind of lose to Floodgates. It can kind of lose to like just like aces if they're not dealt with. It can lose to a lot. If it doesn't have jamming, I don't know how you'll get a stack without jamming. When they printed like a billion cards, a billion rookies with jamming on it, you know. But the deck is playable. I don't see it doing a lot. I could be wrong again, like Megidramon, but who knows, right? Only time will tell. Diaboromon is the best it's ever been right now. The new support does wonders for it. That new rare from BT-22, that new Diaboromon rare from BT-22 is actually insane. Its all turns effects are interruptive as well, so when you would play something with the unidentified trait, you could pop a Digimon with the lowest play cost. This combines really well with the new Infirmon. I wrote Intermon. Intermon on my script here, which is so funny, making it so that you have a steady supply of Diaboromons played. Also, the new CS stuff gives you access to some battle protection, allowing your Diaboromons to have some staying power as well. The issue with the new support is that the old stuff is good too, and the new stuff is good, so it's kind of like a balancing act between the two supports, because you want to use the like pre-BT5 stuff that gives you like a gain of memory whenever you play a Diaboromon out and let you draw unrestricted. Back then they weren't expecting the game to get this fast, so those cards were printed without once per turns on them. So it's like you want to mix that, and you want to mix the new stuff for the protection and the better inherence. And it can kind of get a little like, you can kind of get stacks that seem a little less uniform and more scattered, which is kind of cool and kind of bad, because personally for me, I prefer consistency. Consistency is key. So that's kind of what Diaboromon is dealing with. Also, the super rare for Diaboromon from EX6 is like $30. I don't know why. Diaboromon is finally competitive. It still has some of the same weaknesses it always had. Brickiness, de-digivolve. Floodgates aren't even really an issue, because the new Infirmon can delete Floodgates and give you a little bit of protection as well if you have an errata out. Also, you got a new errata. Holy smokes, I totally forgot. You got a new errata that lets you like redirect into an unidentified or a CS trait Digimon. It's not super fantastic for Diaboromon, other than the fact that it's also a mem setter, so you finally got a mem setter. Dinos is a fantastic anti-meta deck for this format. Dinomon has access to a lot of great removal options just by being red, and for like its wind digivolving effects, great for clearing boards. It still loses to decks like Sakuyamon or even Guil or Machinedramon, but Dinos has the ability to punish going wide decks heavily. It also has a lot of tech options like Medieval that you can play, and its Coromon egg actually isn't that bad either, because you can use that to remove Floodgates that may impede your Fortitude effects. The new Metal Tyrannomon X antibody, being a potential 12 to 16k body that stops digivolving effects on opponent's Digimon, could really mess up blast plays as well. could also tech in, like I said, cards like Crimson Blaze to stop Omni, and Digimon Emperor to slow down it. Dinos is a playable deck. Eaters are good, but sadly it's a little too slow to be super good. It's a fantastic control deck that capitalizes on drawing out the game to spam out mother eaters towards like turn 9 or 10. But waiting to get to turn like 9 or 10 to play out some eaters isn't super good when decks like Sakuyamon or Guil Birds can OTK you on turn 2 or 3 if they get set up quick enough. It's fun but slow. Slower than even Abbadomon actually. Also it's a bit clunky. You really need Miraise to help out in the early game to set up Akimis. And also other CS tamers like Yuko. I keep getting Yuko and Yugo mixed up. And also Arata. It's kind of like it's Yugo, not Yuko. It's Yugo. It just kind of reminds me of like black hybrids in a way. It's like black hybrid Mother D Reaper, but they mashed it together in one archetype. And it's cool because since like the CS stuff is relatively new and you'll have only like 32 cards, the other like 18 or like the other 18 cards you could put in the deck could be straight tech options. Like the build I'm playing is playing like three Death X and like 1 Medieval and some Digimon Emperors and stuff like that. So I think the deck is very competitive, but it's on the low end of competitive, like the middle. You really need the box with other control decks to really get the full benefits of the deck. It can get outsped pretty easily, especially if you don't have all the tamers in place. Galaticmon, it's still great, it just feels like it kind of fell off in favor of other decks. It's hard to play and even more difficult to manage a stack since D-Digivolve is so good right now, but once Galaticmon gets the snowball going, it can absolutely wreck an opponent if timed correctly and not dealt with properly. But if the Galaticmon player even misplays one time, that can cost them the entire game, easily. It's a very hard deck to restabilize after it gets disrupted, or if you play wrong. But it's all worth it when Ragnarok Cannon annihilates all the opponent's security. So this deck sits comfortably in the competitive tier. Alright, now we're going to talk about Galaxy Toolbox. I didn't write anything specifically down for this deck. I was just going to speak from the heart on this one. There are actually two turn skip loops that I came into contact with. 3 in total for this deck. And I want to say the two new turn skips aren't very easy to do, but the fact that they're in the game at all is toxic. I don't hate Galaxy though. Like, Galaxy is fine. I just think they have to put a rule that says you're only like a specific rule to the Digimon Tcg that says you're only allowed to use Galaxy trait cards in the Galaxy deck. I know a lot of people will be upset about that, but this deck, because they didn't put a vast amount of restrictions and made it a little too generic, is causing some unintentional interactions in this game. And interactions that I don't think anybody wants to really deal with. Like, having 3 turn skips in like the same archetype is kind of nanners when you really think about it. Nothing else to say. Deck's highly competitive. We all know the reason. It draws 8 billion cards. It gains 8 billion memory. It has 2 turn skips that are awkward to do, but the fact that you can do them is crazy. Let's move on to another deck that is busted. Gallantmon, that utilizes the Guild engine to accelerate into their crazy good secret rare card from EX8. Like, I mean, Gallantmon's only real weakness is it's like $40 price tag. I mean, like like, and some builds play Omni as well, so it could get a little pricey. But when you play the deck, you already know we've been in Gallantmon meta since EX8. It's crazy fast. It hits really hard. is really strong because you have to like not be at 0 or less memory so you can target the Gallantmon for stuff. You have to kind of play with your memory bar very well. We have a whole deck breakdown series called Hour of Power Ultimate Gallantmon Guide on the channel. We even gave it a custom intro and everything. So I'm gonna play the custom intro just to show people that, but the deck is highly competitive. It's like the only downside of the deck is that it's expensive. Like three secrets you need are like gonna cost you at least $200. But after that, the deck is like rares and commons and uncommons, so it's fine. The GG might run you a couple bucks as well. But here's the intro. Hope you enjoy it. Gammamon is a sneaky deck that requires a bit of skill to play at the high level. If you tuck a Gammamon at the wrong time, you could really just lose the whole game. It's kinda like Galacticmon in a way. Restarting a Gammamon stack is pretty rough. What this deck needs is a rush Gammamon. It has fantastic recursion with the on deletion from the BT-22 Guil Gammamon. But if we got a beta Gammamon that gave us a rush when you tuck a Gammamon from hand, that would really help this deck a ton. We used to have this tier called Waiting Room, where decks were basically waiting for another wave of support. Gammamon's getting more support in EX10. I would put it there, but if I were to place Gammamon somewhere, I would put it in the playable tier, but at a high playable. Gammamon stands will be on the come up when we get the other wave of support watch. Green Ranger is like Bloom and Decode Fish. These decks just want to spit out as many bodies as possible and basically tell the opponent to just deal with it. The issue is the opponent can usually just deal with it. Like if Green Ranger doesn't have the starter deck Rapidmon to establish, they can fold pretty easily to a lot of common removal effects. The deck does have access to some pretty good ace cards, Puppetmon Ace and Truvimon Ace to say a few. You can play BT-17 Argomon as well to lock down those pesky tamers that Eaters and Omni love to use so much. Pomo is also a fantastic floodgate this format. Now that I think about it, green is one of the few colors in the game that has the ability to play out their floodgates by Digimon effects. Aegitar, Sunflower, Leopardmon, all these cards can play out BT-9 Pomumon or Adventure Tentomon for no cost, making Green Ranger very versatile. I would say the major drawbacks of Green Ranger is the lack of DP and the lack of damage when attacking security. Hitting one check with just 12k with a 12k Leopardmon with no jamming isn't really cutting it anymore, especially if you don't have an ace or a protection for the clapback during the opponent's next turn. Considering everything we said earlier, it's a good playable deck. Not terrible, not impressive. Okay, Guil Birds. This deck is fun. Another Guil Engine OTK deck. There are a lot of OTK decks in Digimon right now. The one cool thing I like about this deck is that no two lists will be like exactly the same. Every list will have a little different variation, but Guil Birds is one of those decks that's been basically figured out. The real issue with the deck is on deletions. Since Phoenixmon X end of attack triggers its on deletions, you can still pop the Phoenixmon X stack and get the on deletions in trash. I think the main issue with the deck is not even its fault. It's just a quote unquote issue with Digimon that we just realized. Now, on deletions aren't once per turn. You can kind of trigger on deletions multiple times, and that's what Guil Birds have kind of proven, that like you can abuse when you can abuse mechanics of the game like that, it just makes decks better, honestly. So the deck is highly competitive. It's kind of overshadowed Megidramon. I think Megidramon is cool, but I think people just like Phoenixmon and Birds a little more. Alright, now we got the gatekeeper of the competitive tier, Imperialdramon, blue and green. Well, I kind of just spoiled the placement of the deck, but really, did we really, was there any really doubt? Like, this has been the, like, beginner-friendly deck before Adventure, I would say. It's very simple. It's not too totally expensive. I mean, I'm gonna show the, let me see something. Actually, hang on, let me see, because I wrote this a while ago, so I don't know how expensive Imperial, no, it wasn't. I don't know how expensive Imperialdramon got, because I wrote this list a while ago. I wrote this part of the list a while ago. Let's see. I actually went down 15 bucks. Okay, yeah, for 15 bucks, as of 8/8/25. Because I wrote this tier list part like a while ago. As of 8/8/25, Imperialdramon from the Beginning Observer is $15. The deck is very affordable. I remember when it was 20, so like it went down a lot. If only those alts would go down a lot. Mid-tier list market watch, right? So that's the thing. It's the best competitive deck on the tier list. It's still fast. It still prints memory. It still strips sources. It has the only weaknesses it has is to floodgates. That's it. Like you can't play Digimon by effects floodgate, or you can't gain memory floodgate, or Crimson Blaze just annihilates the deck. We know this. We know what's up. Just put it in the competitive tier right at the front. Move it on along. Virus Imperial, I added this to the list even though it's not doing anything right now. Some people still do play the deck, but I think it's a little too slow. I wanted to include this on the list to talk about how Digimon metas work in a way. A good friend of mine named Save the Waffles, when we were at Locals just playtesting some stuff, he said something very profound, like Digimon has like waves of meta. Right now we're in a tamer heavy meta. Imperialdramon, Virus Imperial will be better when we are in an analog youth meta. Right now we are not in an analog youth meta. He used those exact words. So I would say trash heavy decks right now, like purple, aren't super good, since a lot of people want to play on board. Purple benefits from playing in the trash, and since there hasn't been a lot of good playing in the trash effects as of right now, that kind of knocks Imperialdramon down the peg. It's still good, it can still OTK you out of nowhere, but I think just the setup required to get to that point takes entirely too long, when Omni, if they high roll you, can just kill you turn 2. Or not even just Omni, Guil Birds, Sakuya can kill you from like 0.5 memory. Gallantmon can kill you for nothing on like turn 2 or 3 while you're still setting up analog use and trying to get like your Shadramons off. So just something to consider. I would say the deck is playable for now. Maybe time will tell if it has the makings for a higher placement, but right now it's just playable. Leviamon. I wonder if Leviamon has any place in the meta right now, since so many things play by effects. Maybe things have gotten too much protection, or maybe Leviamon could benefit from all these decks going wide. We can mix in the Guil engine and the Dark Animal engine. Why not mix both engines and make Leviamon busted? Why not? I mean, it always works that way, right? You just throw it in something, right? Or you could even go the purple hybrid route. You know, I think Leviamon works best as not its own thing, but mixed in other things, like Levia Guil or Levia Dark Animal, or like Levia Purple Hybrid, or just like a Levia heavy Demon Lord build is better than just regular Leviamon. But Leviamon right now is, I would say, it's playable. I would like to see the deck do well because I think it's a good anti-meta deck right now with everybody just playing things out by effect. But you kind of really lose to stack decks like Gallant. Gallant doesn't care. And even Royal Knights has protection with that stupid option. So just playable for now. Oh man, I love me some Machinedramon. It's still weak to de-digivolve. Dinomon helps a lot. It mitigates a lot of the issues. I wish Dinomon was a cyborg. Oh man, if they printed that on like a cyborg, it'd be over for Machinedramon. The new Machinedramon I'm conflicted on because it doesn't have any DP protection, so you want to use kind of like a combination of the older Machinedramon from EX1 and the newer one from EX9. But the new one is still super sticky and a fantastic secret nonetheless. It's a great Digimon. It has so many cool intricacies with it that I just can't spend a lot of time talking about right now. The only problem with Machinedramon is like most decks in the tier that it's about to be placed in, it benefits more from slower formats. Like Machinedramon is faster than I would say a lot of other control decks are, thanks to like the DM engine, but right now it's lacking a way to play out analog use efficiently enough. Not analog use, excuse me. Well, analog use if you're playing the DM engine, but also analog man. It's very hard to fit in both analog mans in the deck and get them set up. It's suffering from the Maste issue. You know, that's kind of like the problem. It's like you want to get your Machinedramon set up, but you also want to play like analog man. So you want to like throw the analog mans down early in the game, hope they don't get tampered with, and then start working on your Machinedramon stack. But you could say to hell with all that and just throw in the Gilmon engine, because why not? There should be gameplay right now on the screen of Machinedramon Guil right now. So if your deck sucks and it can play the Gilmon engine, just play the Gilmon engine. Why not? All in all, Machinedramon is fantastic. Competitive tier. Not super groundbreaking, but good enough to make some decent showing. Mastermon. It's still bricky. It's still weak. It's still Mastermon. The new promo is good. Mastermon kind of plays in the Death X well, since like most of Mastermon decks are 5s and 6s. The new Mirai is really what helped Mastermon even make it back on this tier list, just allowing you to cheat out more Mirais. I wish there was an analog man that allowed you to cheat out more analog men. But you know, maybe in the future. Really, Mastermon just needs partition. I'm not a big fan of partition as a keyword. I think it's a busted keyword that shouldn't have never been printed. But the one deck that needs it the most is Mastermon, because when you lose your Mastermon stack, it sucks. It really sucks. Mastermon can easily get opened up. Maybe mixing it with the new Lusamon stuff coming out in EX10 might help it, but right now Mastermon is just playable. I want to see it do well. Everybody loves Mastermon. I believe it's like the beginner trap deck. It's pretty expensive and it's like, you know, Club Nasty, man. You're paying all this money to just kind of look at somebody go off with Guil Birds, right? Okay, this is more of a hope. As of writing this list, the ban list has not dropped. And I want them to unlimit Awakening of the Golden Knight. Like, Magna is just a big wall. That's it. It's just a big wall. Now, the cool thing about Magna was when it came out, it was the biggest wall. Being like, what was the highest Magna can get to at the time? 20k? Being 20k on your turn only, and then going back down to 18k because you don't have the Vmon, isn't strong enough anymore, especially when things can get up to like 25k easily, you know. Magna just like, those hits were necessary to like vaccine because it was just causing, like I was saying before, a state in the game that wasn't designed with that kind of playstyle in mind. They weren't really expecting Rapidmon and Magna to work so well together. that was the problem. But now I feel like that like, yeah, it's kind of corny turboing into a Magna turn too, but like, honestly, like, it's not gonna be that bad anymore because things can get way bigger than Magna. I'm looking at like Black War Greymon in the future and things of that nature, and the new Creepy and everything. They're just going to deck them out by milling everything in their deck, and then I'm just like, yeah, they can use another. You know, Awakening of the Golden Knight can come off, man. Let Magna keep the TK on there, definitely, but allow Awakening of the Golden Knight to come off, man. Just let them, because like I know Armor Vaccine will be good again. But is that really a bad thing? Like, honestly, is that really that bad? Like, really? Now I'm just rambling. Just Magna's playable. Magna's playable. Medusamon is another red deck that is fantastic for new players. It's pretty cheap, got some cool gimmicks, and it's fun. No protection on the opponent's turn and lack of high DP values, even for a red deck, kind of puts the deck down a little bit. I included it on this list because it just being red and allowing, like, and having some cool interactions with the opponent's side of the field kind of made me want to put it on the list. Also, there's an OTK version that you can play where you mix in like Greymon and the Imperialdramon that gives a security attack +1. Yeah, there's a lot of cool like interactions you can have with it, and it has a lot of text against the meta right now because you can run Crimson Blaze and everything. Just any red deck that can run Crimson Blaze is just like gonna be good. I want to say playable for now. The new promo was cute, but not enough to push the deck above the playable tier. Alright, Meggy. I apologize again for the placement of Megidramon. I've apologized once before earlier in the tier list, but if you just skipped to this part, I want to say I know I made a mistake. I am sorry. So, talking about Meggy, the thing is, it is good. It's really good. It's damn good. It's highly competitive. Tied with Guil Birds. I think Guil Birds is a little stronger because you can activate on deletions twice. Yes, on deletions twice. Boom, done. I fixed it on the list. I apologize. I added MelatGarurumon for the same reason I kind of added Medusa on the list. There's some cool things you can do with it in this meta. It can combo really in a way that makes you even question what even happened. You know, it still plays like its EX9 variant right now, even with the hit to the promo. Thank goodness that promo was toxic. And it has a very cool tech because the EX1 Melga can bounce on deletions, which is really helpful because a lot of on deletions now don't have a lot of like Digimon protection. So just kind of removing that out of, just getting rid of that just entirely is always going to be good. Like Phoenix X, if it doesn't blow itself up at the end of turn, you can just bounce it to hand and get rid of the sources. And Omegamon as well, because you can just bounce the Omegamon to hand. Sagittarius mode is also a great card, stunning a Digimon or Tamer while its inherited effect can de-digivolve a Digimon, removing the possibility of an ace. Melga's playable. It's a cool little deck that could do some interesting plays, but it has all the gripes of an old EX3 stack deck. Bricky, kind of slow, takes a little bit of setup, and some lucky sacks out of security. Numemon I put on this list not because of the gold Numemon, but because it's so funny because Numemon after the hits became like full of text, and if you can get the text off now early enough, you can just immediately shut off certain decks. Right? Like if you could get a proper placement of a Venusmon that can just shut down Omni or CS, you know what I mean? Because a lot of their stuff is when digivolving. You will see such good results with this deck, honestly. Like if you get a Venusmon going, if you somehow live and can get like a ruin mode going after that, you could basically just control the game. You could control the game in a way that'll make the opponent rage quit, which you're probably seeing on screen, honestly. Also, Kokuyamon and Chumon locking people out of memory games and stopping like Digivolution requirement ignoring, if that sentence makes any kind of sense. The only problem with Nume is that they hit the Nume X, so kind of like that deck lived and died by Nume X, and it needed to be hit. So like the benefit of playing out Platinum Numemon and then going into a ruin mode like turn 2 is gone. So the privilege of that is gone. But it does have some interesting things that I will say puts it in the playable tier. Not super aggressive and oppressive things, but just interesting enough to be like, hey, maybe this deck isn't as dead as we originally thought. Omni Turbo. There are a lot of ways to build this deck. Debatably too many ways to build this deck. The best way to build the deck is to just use the new BT-22 stuff and call it a day. Like, you can use some of the older stuff and mix with the BT-22 stuff, but that Nokia carries Omni so hard. That Nokia is a very, very great card. It's what makes Omni what it is, right? And that's what makes Omni a highly competitive deck. I wouldn't say super competitive, like at the very top of highly competitive, because a lot of decks just like Sakuya, another deck that we're going to say later on the list. Matter of fact, I think it's coming up in a couple spots, but like Royal Knights, Sakuya, and some variation of a Gallantmon deck, whether it be Guil Birds, Guilmon, Rush, Megidramon, or just outright Gallant. Those three are like the holy trinity of the last 5 metas, honestly. They're just too good. Those decks are just too good. Will Omni be able to crack into that spot and make it the 4 Yonko decks of Digimon Tcg? Only time will tell. It's highly competitive for sure. Puppets. Puppets is so interesting because I feel like Puppets, once you have the Sindrill out and the Kaguyamon out, you're eating so good. When you have both of those out, the game is over. And then with the new Boltmon or whatever it's called, the Puss in Boots like variant Digimon, it's really solid actually. Like if you get to that point where you have all of that, the deck is like competitive for sure. I wouldn't say highly competitive, but definitely competitive for sure. The only issue is it can kind of take a while to get to that point, and it takes multiple turns of that kind of setup to get to that point as well. Like you have to establish one stack, and then you have to take time for your next turn to get another one going while pressuring the opponent. And then once you get that other stack going on the 3rd turn, if you still have all your stuff, you basically win the game, because you got a Boltmon out, you got a Kaguyamon out, you got a new Sindrill. The new rare Sindrill is pretty good too. It's also kind of locked behind some promos as well. Like you can play the deck definitely without promos. I would say the #1 promo you need is the Shushuemon that came out in the tournament packs not too long ago. That definitely is like a mandatory card, because that card is like crazy. The fact that it can play itself out of security, and then when it plays itself, you could play a tamer. I mean, not a tamer, you could play a token, which triggers like almost like all your effects, especially the Boltmon. It's crazy. So I would say the deck is competitive. It's fantastic. It's like really good. The deck is competitive. Purple Hybrids is one of those decks that'll never be bad. It kind of reminds me of how like Imperial is, right? Like even with the hits, it's still a decent deck. It won't, I don't know, unless you like really hit Duskmon and the Velgar, it won't ever be bad, honestly. And right now it's good. It's still a fantastic deck. Like you can still play Purple Hybrids perfectly fine post hit without the mat and be okay. It's just generically good. You can play the Apocalymon engine in it. You can play Leviamon, which we mentioned earlier. You can play the Guilmon engine. You can play Arrestadramon Superior Mode if you want more damage in, because Arrestadramon Superior Mode can digivolve 4 over a purple card for whatever reason. you'll always see a purple hybrid player at a tournament, you know, just like you'll always see like maybe a rogue bloom player out there, or like a UlforceVeedramon player, you know. It's always that one guy going to play purple hybrid. So it's a competitive deck. I would say it's right below Imperial. They're fighting for the top spot. All right, Royal Knights. To a lot of people, best deck in the game. Myself included. I think Royal Knights is the best deck in the game. Honestly, it's just consistent. And they printed a new alt force that says on play for 7 costs, bot deck a floodgate. So that's good. And so now they have a way to get rid of floodgates, which was like the one thing that they kind of had like stopping them was the floodgates. But now they printed something to get rid of them. Also, the new Leopardmon Ace, on top of being a stupid card in CS Galaxy, which allows turn skips. Yes, turn skips. If you want to see that in action, go back in the video if you skip to this point and watch us talk about Galaxy. It is just a deck that will never not see play. It will fall off in popularity, but it's good. Like I said, I think it's honestly the best deck in the format. It's definitely tied with Gallant and Sakuya for the spot. If not the best, it's definitely tied for the top 3. Speaking of the top 3 of Sakuyamon, it still could pop off with 1 memory, and while I'm like writing this, I'm realizing that Greymon X is still limited, but Sakuyamon can do all that wonky stuff for 1 memory. Like, there's no justice. There was a pretty funny Facebook thread I saw about that whole thing. I'll post that on screen. It was pretty entertaining. But other than that, like, it's Sakuya. It's top 3 decks. There's not much we can say about it. It's 170 points out of 20 on the list, you know? Alt Force is a sleeper pick for the meta, where only a few decks have true protection currently, and the meta is more about damage than control. With removal coming back full circle to pure deletion effects back on the rise, the promo has been the one true saving grace, allowing earlier pushes to a more consistent hand, and a plethora of tools blue for card advantage and memory gain will always benefit it. A smart player will know when it's more beneficial to hard play the arenas over holding them for the one big play. I am not one of those players, by the way. As keeping a blocker and evade on a body will be more helpful in the long run in a fair few cases now. May face a speed issue in some cases, especially in a higher tier deck, but a good read on the game state will allow you to manipulate the board for absolute V for victory. Highly playable, low end of competitive. Last deck, Zephagamon. Alright, I said a pretty hot take in the Discord. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I'm not going to say it here. But anyway, Zephagamon is it's a really good deck, honestly. Like, it has some, like, the starter deck I think being better than the super rare and EX7 is kind of funny, but the starter deck having all turns protection is really good. It can also just annihilate boards. Zephagamon could just like run through boards if you play it correctly. We did a Zephagamon Hour of Power not too long ago where we talked about Zephagamon in pretty like in depth. It's a competitive deck for sure, but on the low end of competitive. It's fighting in the bird space. The bird space is so tight right now. There's a lot of good bird deck. Alright, that is the end of the list. Sorry it took so long. We've been pretty busy here at Dmvdrakes, man. We're going through a lot of like life stuff, you know. This is a passion project for a lot of us. We don't get paid to do this at all. So we only really did this to help the community, honestly. Like, that's the only, like, that was the big reason we did this. Also, it's fun, of course, like, but the community helping and it being fun is the driving force behind us making content and just having the Discord and running tournaments and everything. This format, I think, in like, just to talk off the cuff a little bit, will be one of those formats where I think you have to tech in cards to stop the opponent from playing the game, honestly. Like Venus and Nume, Death X in like blue hybrid, ruin modes, like Digimon, 2 Digimon Emperors, just like full stop. It just full stops Omni, right? I mean, if they got 2 Digimon Emperors, they can't raise the Agumon out. They're just past turn, you know? So, I think this is going to be one of those metas where we kind of have to just, like, tech options to just get rid of to get rid of opponents' tamers, to stop memory gain, to stop Digimon from being played. All that good stuff. Hey, and, like, if you dodge bad matchups and play your deck perfectly, you can even take Maste to top 16. I mean, hey, you know, you never know, right? So that's going to do it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Content will be a little slow until we do the EX10 tier list. So I'm sorry about that. We'll upload some gameplay and stuff in the meantime. We'll keep the cards of the day going too. But I have some personal things I need to take care of, so I'm a be gone. I have some big boy stuff to worry about. But other than that, I'll see you guys at the EX10 tier list. So thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. Peace.